I've been working with NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, specifically for business and coaching for over 30 years. And what we're doing here tonight is we're looking at my splatter model, which is a way of asking purposeful questions. The format of this is I normally pick a subject every week. We go through probably 10, 15 minutes of teaching you a little bit about the subject. We then go into breakout rooms for 7, 8, 9, sometimes 10 minutes, depending how much time I've got. Then I'll let you know about what we're offering to you at the end, and then we see you next week. So it's a fast session, but the whole point is for you to take things away. There's no handouts, and I'm quite happy for you to take photographs of any of the slides. So I see Karen's just arrived, so that's lovely to see you, Karen. So getting clarity by asking purposeful questions. Those of you who are in, just put your hand up if you are NLP trained. I know quite a few people I'm seeing here are, okay? If you're not, that's okay. What we're talking about with the communication process is how we actually pass information. So, for example, this is a slide I like to use in my training. Someone goes into a meeting for 2 hours, and when they're in that meeting, they're creating their edited version of that situation. So they're doing this by deleting, distorting, and generalizing information. So when we're bringing information into our head, we're actually editing it. We're filtering it and editing it to suit our own representation of the world. And then when someone has to talk about that, they also delete, distort, and generalize. So if someone's not a 2-hour meeting and then they're talking to someone about the meeting, they're normally passing that information on in 10 minutes. They've got to give a super edited version of that. However, the person who's listening is also deleting, distorting, and generalizing the information. So they're listening to the edited version, they're creating their own edited version, and then when that person has to pass on information, they are also deleting, distorting, and generalizing information. So once a situation or people talking about a situation has gone through a few people, you end up with what I call the blah, 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 because you cannot be absolutely sure of what happened because things have got deleted, they've got distorted, and they've got generalized. In neuro-linguistic programming terms, this is called creating your map of the world. And we have an incredible model for gathering information and helping people solve problems, and that is the NLP meta model. However, the NLP meta model is a complex, so it's a fabulous model, and I'll be giving you an offer. I've got a self-learning course on that, and I'll give you details of that in the end. But it's too complicated to teach in business. And what I don't mean in business in general. I go into companies to teach leaders and managers communication skills. I teach them leadership development skills. I teach them coaching skills. We don't have time when we're in to spend a lot of that time working on the meta model. So what I did was I created my own model that actually gets that you're still getting the same information, you're still getting information that's deleted, distorted, and generalized, but it's called the splatter model. The easiest way to delete, distort, to retrieve information that's been distorted, deleted, generalized is by asking very specific and targeting questions, open questions, to retrieve the most useful bits of information. Now, this is the key. You're not wanting to retrieve all the information, you're just wanting to retrieve the useful bits of information. Who knows how we create our pictures at what we call submodalities? Do you know how we create? We're all creating pictures of everything we're seeing. And when you ask someone purposeful questions, you're creating your picture of a situation, but there's lots of information missing from a situation. So you've got to ask questions to get the missing pieces of information. But you're looking to get the most, what's the word? The pieces of information that will make the biggest difference. So you get very clear very quickly in what happens. So this can be in a conflict resolution situation. It could be helping someone set goals for their career. It could be just finding out how someone is having a problem about something. So you're wanting to get as clear as possible, as quickly as possible about that situation. So as I said before, if you're NLP trained, you would normally use the meta model. Now, the meta model has 11 language patterns to get a clear picture of the situation you're dealing with. But the meta model takes time to learn. Because we all create our edited versions of any situation, using the splatter model gives you a structured and quick way of asking purposeful questions to get a clearer understanding of any situation. Now, I created this about 7, 8 years ago, and I have literally taught this to thousands of business professionals who have got no NLP training whatsoever. But what's interesting about this is I was in sales for many years. I had a 25-year sales career. I worked for Xerox. I worked for companies like Yellow Pages. I have been highly trained in sales. And we were always trained to ask open questions. But I never ever took into consideration, okay, it's all very well asking open questions, but no one actually ever said to me, the order in which you ask the open questions are really important. So if I start to tell you, it was absolutely incredible what we did. They responded beautifully. We couldn't believe it. What am I talking about? Who knows what I'm talking about? No, look, you're all going, I haven't got a clue. This is what people are doing all the time. We have our whole situation in our head and we're telling someone about it, but we're missing vital bits of information that will help someone understand. So this is where I got the splatter model from, by really thinking, right, what's the order we should be looking at? This is very useful in sales, customer service, negotiation, conflict resolution, and coaching. So who knows that we all see a situation, we all see a picture of what we're talking about. Who knows about submodalities? Put your hand up if you know about submodalities. Karen, you may not know about submodalities, but that's okay. I'm not sure if Nicoletta or Faye or Lawrence know either. That's okay. Let me just show you. I've got time to show you. Imagine you're standing in front of your door. Now, you're not standing in front of your door because you're sitting or standing in front of a computer. Am I correct? If you're imagining yourself standing in front of your door, point to where you see your door. If you're imagining your door, point to where you see your door. It's a picture you're looking at. Most people will see the picture of their door somewhere in front of them. Am I correct? Yeah? Okay. Now, is that a big picture or a small picture? I don't need you can just give your answers yourself. Is it still, is it moving? Is it color? Is it black and white? Is it flat or is it 3D? Are you in that picture? If I've asked you to turn the key, you have to be in the picture because you're imagining yourself in the door turning the key. Now, what way does your door open? Does your door open that way? If your door opens that way, put your hand up. Try it. See where your key is. What way does your door open? Does your door open out the way? If your door opens out the way, put your hand up. If your door opens in the way, put your hand up. Can you see? Okay. And that's a lovely example. I didn't give you enough information. I deleted the information in that question I was asking you. I didn't say stand outside your front door. I just said stand in front of your door. I didn't even say which door. So to be able to turn the key, you have to be in the picture. So our brains are creating mental pictures of every situation. These are called visual submodalities in NLP. You cannot make a picture of anything until you know what you're talking about and who's involved. It's impossible. So you can ask as many open questions as you like, but if you don't ask the what and the who, you're going to keep going round in circles. You're not going to know what people specifically are talking about. So we all have these, some people say they're imaginary pictures. They're pictures that are coming from your brain, coming from your imagination, but they're building blocks in how you're creating behavior. So the splatter model is the situation, which is the what, the people so you can take a photograph in a moment, the whole thing will be up in a moment. Then it's the people with the who, the location, the where, the action, the how, and the time when. So let me see. Gabby, why have you got all these certificates behind you? I don't need you to answer me. How does it feel if I come in and say why straight away? Karen, why are you free and why have you got your logo all up there? Free and proud. Okay, so straight away, when you jump in with a why question, you're going straight into someone's inside world, and people have to start defending and justifying. And the number of people in coaching and in business that lead with why questions is unbelievable. And then they wonder why they don't get people really opening up. Why equals reason or motivation. Write that down. Why equals reason or motivation. Once you go through the splatter model and you get the people talking about the situation, so they're talking about what specific the situation is, they're talking about the people that are there, they're talking about the location where it happened. Now, to be very honest, the time, action, location, it doesn't matter what order these three come in. And it doesn't matter if the people comes first or situations comes first, but you have to have people or person and situation before your brain can begin to make a picture. So then you're finding location. And so by this time, people are telling you about the situation. People are giving you information that they've deleted, distorted, and generalized. You can then ask, so what do you think was the reason that happened? What motivated you to do that? So the reason or motivation in the splatter model comes as far to the end as you can possibly get it. And that way people are opening up. And this is just such a simple structure. It's so easy to teach. In fact, I would like you to do a splatter model. One person go through a splatter model with someone in the group when you go into your breakout rooms, because I want to show you how quickly this is. And you can do the splatter model just to get to know each other. So what you're wanting to do here is to get a clear picture. It's impossible to get a clear picture of something until you know what someone is talking about, which is the subject. You also have to know who's involved, the person, the people. Structure your initial question to find out what is being referred to and who is involved. And only when you have that, you can start to build a picture of what happened or what is wanted. So it's what specifically do you want to achieve? Who do you want to achieve that with? If you're coaching. But the lovely thing is, if you're teaching this, because a lot of the people that come on these sessions are business coaches, and they're working with business professionals, they're working with leaders. If you're wanting to teach business leaders to be really quick at getting information, just by asking these two questions, people tend to assume that other people know what we're talking about. But if you're working with a leader that maybe has 5 or 6 people reporting into them, then what happens then is that person's going to think all the time about what are they talking about. So just by asking that. Karen, your hand's up. You've got a question.
Yes, real quickly. So does this work with all kinds of coaching, or business coaching, life coaching?
Yeah.
Wellness coaching?
Yeah, I'm a clinical hypnotherapist also. It works with my clinical hypnotherapy clients. It works with the neuroscientific example. We cannot make a picture in our head until we know what specifically someone is talking about and who's involved. But we also know the word why goes straight to someone's, because why is asking for reason or motivation. You're going straight to someone's inner world and actually asking them. That's why people will start to defend themselves if you start with a why. This works. I've been doing this for 30 years, Karen. This works with any type of it. And I was actually doing this unconsciously when I was in my sales. I realized when I put this model together that I had been unconscious. I wasn't thinking about the structure, but when I went back and modeled what I was actually doing, I was always starting with what specifically do you want to achieve? How can I help you? How specific can I help you? What specific do you want to achieve? And then who's involved? And then you have to get the location, you've got to get the time, and you want to find out how it's being done. And then I would always ask my clients then, so what's the motivation for working with us? I used to ask that when I worked with Xerox all the time. What motivated you? Sorry?
Can you say more about location? What does that mean?
Location means place. The location means the place. So where do you want to do this? The location equals where. Because the way that, let me just show you again the slide. I'll go back to the slide in a moment, but we're talking about the location part of the splatter. It's just, where is it? So the open question for location is where? Where do you want to be doing this? Yeah. When do you want to be doing it? How do you want to be doing it? All I have done, Karen, is taken the open questions and put them in an order. That is all this model is, but it works so beautifully and so quickly. So the next thing, has that answered your question?
It did, thank you.
Yeah, and so next thing needed is to structure questions to find out where this is happening, that's the location, how did it happen, the action taken or not. And that's important because very often people will get a result based on what they didn't do, not necessarily in what they did do. So we're looking at what did you do or not? How did you do that or not? How did that happen? Now, this could be talking about something someone's struggling with or something someone's done really well. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. And then you've got, when did it happen? So that's the time. So when you build a habit of asking these questions in specific order, you're ensuring that you're getting a more accurate picture of what has happened or what someone wants to achieve. And then ask the why question, the reason or motivation. If you ask why before gathering enough information, people can become defensive and only give you their view or justification for something. So if someone's struggling and about something, say someone's struggling to achieve a goal, you say, so why are you struggling to achieve that goal? That can sound like a very kind coaching question. But what you've done is you've actually locked that person into the problem. You've locked them into the struggle rather than expanding on the situation and then finishing up with, so what do you think is the reason this is happening? And because they have retrieved so much more information, this model is actually, you're retrieving the deleted, distorted and generalized information. So people get a bigger picture. They might start with a picture like that with a struggle. And the more you ask these questions, the more they start to remember about that situation. And very often they come up with their own solutions. This is what the meta model does, but it does it in a much more complex and elegant way. As I said, I put this together so I could teach this really quickly. Getting into the habit of using splatter models and information gathering questioning tool ensures you get all the information to build a really clear picture. Plus you get the reason or motivation, what either has happened or what someone's looking to achieve. So here you go again, splatter is the what, the who, the where, the how, which is the action, and the times, the when, and the reason or motivation is why. So if you want to take a picture of that, if you haven't taken a picture of it already, take a picture of it now or write it down, because you're going to go in now. So I'm going to put you into breakout rooms. Let me see how many breakout rooms. Let's go for 10 minutes. Okay. And in your breakout rooms, we've got breakout rooms of 2 or 3 people. Let me just see, because I know that Faye's dropping. Yeah, Faye's gone. That's fine, because Faye was over here for a wee while. What you do is just go through the splatter model. Maybe just find out about someone. So, what's the reason you're here tonight? That's a good start. So you could start off with that. And the who would be people. Who do you work with? I don't know what specific do you want to achieve in your life? What do you do? I don't know. There's many ways you can ask these questions. But we're going to go in for 10 minutes. The breakout rooms are open. We do not record the breakout rooms. And then just see if you can actually swap over, because we've got enough time tonight to just swap over and see how much information you can get about each other in that short time. Okay, so we'll see you back in a moment. Yeah, let me just put the recording back on again. Okay, so let me see. So how did you get on with that? So let's just get started while everyone else is coming back. What did you get from that, Gabby, when you were talking to Gail?
I don't think we went through the whole splatter model.
That's okay. That's okay. It's interesting. I know that, Gail, you use this a lot in your coaching now, don't you? So
Yes.
what do you find? Because I know you left a message about that. What do you find when you use the splatter model?
I find I get to specifically the heart of what's going on and how it's came about and how to take it forward.
Yeah. So you get all the information you need to be able to move forward with whatever you're working with your client, which is fabulous. Okay. So who else has got something to share? Let's get Karen. What did you get from that? Would you mind sharing? Because I know this is the first time you've done this.
Yes, but I got a lot. I'm so glad you joined our room. In fact, you just on Friday, I have to do some pre-assessments for my group.
Yeah.
And you just gave me the model that I'm going to use. So I breathed life into two birds with one breath by being here today.
Fantastic. And how quick is this to use? How quick and easy is it to use?
It's very easy. And what I like about it is I also see it as a very compassionate way to ask people about their lives. And that's what I like about it.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right, because when you don't start with the why, people don't have to justify and defend themselves straight away. Very often when I'm teaching this in business, I will start with saying to people, so how do you get information? The people you're leading or coaching, how do you get information? And I'll come up with a couple of things and I'll say I've done that. And normally 90% of the people say, why did that happen? And sometimes they say it very kindly. They'll say, so why do you think that happened? Even no matter, it doesn't, the state can make a difference, but we're still having to jump straight into the justifications. Because if you think of a why goes straight into someone's inside world, and you're not wanting things to be in the inside world, okay? You're wanting to let them tell you what's happening in their inside world. You're wanting them to remember things they've forgotten about. Things that will make it easier, things that can make them think a little bit more about what they could have done differently or how they could move forward or what they want to achieve. So we're actually gathering that information that has been deleted, distorted, and generalized. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Who else? Who's the next? Who's the next person? Because we've got some time to share. I'll take one more person.
I was wondering, I always I generally do start with my clients to ask the what, who, and all of that, but not necessarily in that order. So what's the importance behind that order?
There's not an exact, there's only two rules. The first rule is you have to ask the what or the who first.
Okay.
Before you ask any other questions, you ask the what or the who first. And the other rule is ask the why, which is the reason or motivation, as far into the conversation as you can. Keep that up your sleeve. Because
definitely.
People will give you a different reason or motivation when they've started really talking about the situation than they would right at the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we've tested this. The number of people who've said, I hadn't thought of that. I hadn't thought of that was the reason it motivated me, because they've been thinking about the situation. You've been asking them questions that they've got a clearer picture. So it's not just the coach, the hypnotherapist, or the leader we're talking about getting more information. It's the client. It's the client getting more information as well. Yeah. So that's the only rule, is the first part, the what, the SP, the situation of people or person. These are the two first questions. Doesn't matter what order they come in. The other questions, sometimes you don't even have to ask the other questions, because people are telling that, and you go, okay, tick, I now know when it happened, because they've told me. Because also this model sets up rapport. And the key about rapport is someone gives you unsolicited information. They give you information that you couldn't have asked about. So you could be sitting there with your splatter model going, oh, I don't need to say anything. They're giving me the when, they're giving me where it happened, they're giving me how it happened, and sometimes they'll be giving you the reason as well. But if you jump straight in with the why, then the whole model collapses. Has that answered your question for you? Yeah?
Yes, because sometimes I do start with the why, and I won't do that anymore.
No, so it's absolutely, you can start with the why in certain situations. If you need to find out straight away someone's reasons or motivations. So for example, I'm doing the NLP Advanced Communication Skills training tomorrow. And this is a training course. I've got a lot of people on this course that have never worked with me before. One of the first questions I asked is, so what motivated you to join this training? I don't need their situation at that point of time. So if you're wanting to jump in and just get the motivation, but see how I'm saying, what motivated you? I'm still using the what, rather than saying, why did you sign up? Sometimes I'll do, why did you sign up? But it's knowing the purpose of the why question. Okay, let me just go over some of the things that we've got here. I've just put in the chat box for you. I've got an offer on my How to Use the NLP Meta Model in Business. This is a self-learning course. It's a self-learning course that has over 60 videos, 60 audios, 3 assessments. You get, when you work through the whole course and when you press complete on everything, complete everything in there, you then get a certificate of completion on that. It's a 75% discount, and normally it's $399 and it's $99 at the moment. The link is in the chat, so you can get the link for that. And just to let you know, the dual certification NLP practitioner, NLP business coach, that's starting on the 7th of March. That is delivered over 3 months. There's 32 modules, and we work in blocks of 2 or 3 days, 2 weeks or 3 weeks sometimes in between. And we've got the advanced booking offer for that. If anyone wants to talk to me about that, I'm quite happy to stay here at the end, and we will be sending out information. We always send out a thank you email from here, and I'll send you an information about that. But that one, that's certified by the Association of NLP. And we find, I know there's a few people here tonight. In fact, there's 4 people who've already gone through that qualification. And I pride myself in making NLP as simple as possible, but not only that, as applicable as possible. So you can actually take everything that you're learning and you can apply it straight away. Also, what I'd like to offer you, if you like a complimentary strategy session with me, a 30-minute strategy session, that's just your time. You can book me if you contact me at fiona@theprofessionalgrowthcompany.com. And if those of you who've used this before, I'm happy to do another one with you, because I know that a lot of people who come on do this. We talk about my coaching program because I work with people. I've got different coaching packages. We talk about the NLP business practitioner, but it's very much, that's a time where there's part of that time is spent working with you, and there's no obligation to sign up for anything. So it's a way you get to see me working, you get to experience me working. And I know that a lot of people who do this, they get a lot of clarity very quickly with that. Okay. Any questions? I'm just going to open the floor. We've got another 4 minutes. Let me just change that question. What questions do you have, or what comments do you have about what you're taking away? Yes, Colin.
I've got a question. It comes more from when managers are reporting or escalating a problem to, or keeping senior management aware. Mm-hmm. Usually the first question, let alone the second question, so they've given a bit of a what in the initial bit. Yeah. Sorry, my phone's going. That's okay. But the first question they then ask then is who. Yeah. But that's from a view of who got it wrong. Mm-hmm. And it's from a point of view, and the next thing is, what have you done to correct what have you done to discipline them, so to speak? Yeah, yeah. So my problem is, I don't want them to be asking that. I want them to stick with the what, because the who is then vindictive.
Who's the they? Who's the they? You said I want them. Who's them?
Okay, so a manager would be reporting to a director. Mm-hmm. Okay, and they would saying this has happened, so they'd give them the what. The first question they'd say, who did it? Yeah. So it's more about, but the thing is, the thinking there is more about the blame. It's not about understanding it and digging into it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm having a bit of conflict with myself.
Okay. Well, one of the things I'll just share some of my experience with that. The only people you can influence are the people you're coaching or training. You cannot influence people that you're not coaching or training. You can teach people to manage upwards. I teach a lot of my clients to manage upwards. And they start to educate, because this is a really interesting point you've brought up, because we've now got Generation Z in the workforce. Millenniums are actually getting older. Millenniums used to be there, all the new millennials. Gen Z's in, and I don't know what the next one's getting called, but and I've been doing a lot of work recently with Generation Z. And they have reflection journals. They do reflection. They work with gratitudes. And I'm talking about male and female. So there's a whole different way of thinking now coming into the workplace that is completely opposed to the command and control and blame. So it's having to educate senior managers about there's no such thing as failure, it's only feedback. Is there anything that didn't go the way you didn't expect it to? It's not a problem. It's just a situation of what needs to happen to make sure this doesn't happen again. And it's much more about the manager's state and the manager's assumption of blame. So it's coaching and teaching leaders, and this is what I'm specializing in when I'm in the work, and I do a lot of corporate work, where you're teaching leaders to really gather information, and there is no blame, especially if you're developing a coaching culture in an organization. Because there doesn't have to be blame, because people will put their hand up and say, I've made a mistake. When people are in a command and control situation, they're normally being managed by fear. And when they're managed by fear, they will not put their hand up. They're terrified to put their hand up and say, I made a mistake. But when you're working in an open culture, when you're working in a coaching type of culture, when you're working in a supporting culture, where leaders are open and honest, leaders are vulnerable, leaders are supporting and developing and growing, their people then feel totally comfortable saying, I've actually messed up here. This is what I'd like, or can someone help me? I've really messed up. So you're much more likely to get that rather than things being escalated. Who's to blame? And very often the thing that comes after that, can you see what's happening, what I was doing there? It's you get the voice tone, you get the state, you get the pointing, and you get that we're going to fire them. Companies can't afford to get rid of people now because we have such a skills shortage. And it costs companies fortunes to get rid of that. Once upon a time, hundreds, thousands of people, millions of people all ready to jump into jobs. That we're living in a different culture. What I would say, I know I've given you a sort of long answer to your question. Yeah. You can't influence the director who's pointing the finger and blame unless you're working with them directly. But if you're working with a manager that's actually reporting into that director, you can teach that manager to teach the director all about a no blame culture. Let's look at the mistakes, look at how it happened. Let's really look at the situation so it doesn't happen again. Does that help? Yeah, I see that happening a lot. It definitely happens a lot. Yeah. Okay, any other questions? We've just gone 2 minutes past the time. Anything else? Next week, it's listening. I haven't got the name for it, but it's focused listening skills. There'll be a workshop around focused listening skills. We'll see you next week. Give yourself a wee round of applause. Thank you for coming. I'm on here for a little while if anyone wants to have a chat or if you've got anything else to ask me. And we'll see you soon. Take care and thank you very much. And I'll just stop the recording now.